after the loudest, messiest, most chaotic public meltdown of her relationship era so far. The moment has finally arrived where we get to see what Stefon Diggs has truly been cooking behind the curtain. Because Cardi B just got served. And not the way the internet is being told to read it. No, this goes deeper. This goes uglier. This goes into a place that nobody on her team is ready for. Stefon Diggs has officially flipped the entire script on her. And he did not do it loud. He did not do it sloppy. He did not do it with a press release. He did it the way a man who has been planning his counterattack for months does it. Quietly, strategically, with receipts, with timing, with a former chef positioned like a chess piece, and with a date stamped onto a public post that nobody was supposed to decode in time. And that is what we are unpacking today, because the layers underneath this story are unbelievable. And before we go a single inch further into the rabbit hole, before I show you the breadcrumbs, the dates, the posts, the alleged Finsta account, the pillow talk theory, and the hospital cover-up that nobody has connected yet, please make sure you smash that like button, hit subscribe, and pump up this video for me because we are about to break this entire thing down piece by piece, and I am going to need all of you behind me. Tap that like, drop that comment, share this with the group chat, because this is the kind of story that is going to keep evolving every single hour. And once you see the full picture, you will never be able to unsee it. So lock in with me. Strap in. Because what is happening between Stefon Diggs and Cardi B is not a relationship squabble. It is a calculated public unraveling, and the man at the center of it is enjoying every single second. Now let me start with the facts, just the basic surface-level breakdown, because before we get into the conspiracy of it all, before we get into the psychology of it all, we need to walk through what has actually unfolded in front of our eyes over the last several days. So here is the timeline. Mother's Day weekend, Stefon Diggs and Cardi B do their cute little soft launch, hard launch hybrid moment at his event, and the entire internet eats it up. The photos circulate. The captions pop off. The bloggers run with it. It looks like the two of them are sealing a chapter together, presenting themselves as a unit, as a couple, as a brand new power pairing in the celebrity ecosystem. And the very next day, almost like the universe scheduled it, the former chef of Stefon Diggs steps onto her Instagram and posts the most theatrical, the most tilted, the most camera-angled, the most fist on the temple, eyes on the side, lips slightly parted, deeply suggestive video that the algorithm has seen in a long time. Now, if you have eyes, if you have any street sense at all, you know exactly what that energy was. That was not a healing post. That was not a girl with her thoughts post. That was a warning shot dressed up like a vague pose. And the entire internet picked up on it within minutes. The body language alone was screaming, and she had not even opened her mouth yet. And what makes this even more delicious is that on day one, she did not even drop the name Cardi B. She kept it vague. She talked about a moment. She talked about a situation. She talked about a night. She danced right at the edge of it without putting the name in print. And a lot of people online were trying to give her the benefit of the doubt, saying maybe she is not even pointing at Cardi. Maybe she is referring to something else. Maybe this is just a girl venting. Maybe we are reading too much into it. And listen, that ambiguity was not an accident. That ambiguity was strategy. Because when she realized that the conversation was not snowballing fast enough, when she realized that the rumor mill was not catching the full scent, she pulled the trigger the very next day and printed Cardi B's name directly into the message. And the moment that name hit the post, the entire energy of the internet shifted, because now nobody could pretend they did not see it. But here is where it gets interesting, and this is the detail that almost slipped right past me, because the day I clocked it I had to rewind 3 times. At the top of that public statement, there was a date. October 24th. Just sitting there. No paragraph attached to it. No explanation framing it. Just 3 dots after it like a trail of breadcrumbs that she knew somebody clever enough was going to follow. And of course, the question becomes, why would you ever stamp a random October date on a post that is supposed to be about the present moment? Why drag a calendar reference into a feud unless that date itself is the entire weapon? Because everything else she said in that post can be debated and dismissed and twisted by Cardi's fanbase. But a date cannot be denied. A date is a fingerprint. A date is a coordinate. A date is a flare gun fired straight into the sky for everybody who knows what they are looking at. And the second I saw that, I went straight to the timeline. I started pulling up everything I could find about Cardi B during the back half of October 2024, because something had to be there. There had to be a reason this chef looked dead into the camera, twisted her head a little, blinked deliberately, and said it is not even my story to tell like that. Because when somebody says it is not my story to tell, they are absolutely telling you the story. They are simply putting the responsibility on you to go find the pieces yourself. And the pieces, my friends, were sitting right there waiting for me. Because back in late October of 2024, Cardi B was scheduled to take the stage at a major festival down in Miami. The promo had been running for weeks. The fans were locked in. The bookings were paid for. Everything was lined up the way these Turing machines always are. And then, with no warning, with no leak, with no buildup, the entire moment got vaporized. Cardi B was suddenly rushed to the hospital. The blogs lit up. The TMZ machines lit up. The Twitter pages lit up. The Instagram comment sections lit up. And every single one of them was asking the exact same question. What in the world happened? Because Cardi B does not just cancel a high-profile festival appearance. She does not just disappear off the grid for medical reasons, without somebody on her team running ahead of the story to control the narrative. And yet that is precisely what happened. Then, because she clearly knew the internet was going to drag her if she stayed quiet, Cardi hopped on Instagram Live, propped herself up in the hospital bed, and started talking about how somebody had supposedly contacted child services on her kids. That was the story she went with. That was the redirect. That was the smoke she blew into the camera, so nobody would ask follow-up questions about why she was actually in that bed in the first place. And to this day, with all the receipts, with all the screenshots, with all the leaks, with all the chronically online detectives that exist on this internet, we still do not have a verified answer to the question of why Cardi B was actually hospitalized that night. The reason was never publicly confirmed. The medical situation was never disclosed. The entire moment was buried under a child services storyline that conveniently dominated the headlines for 48 hours and then evaporated. Now hold that thought, because that little misdirection move, she just pulled the exact same play earlier this week when she tried to convince the entire internet that the reason she was flailing her hands and screaming at Stefon Diggs in a parking lot was simply because she was hungry. Hungry. Read that again. Hungry. As if a grown woman who has been on stages around the world and managed her own empire is reduced to a screaming, pointing, head-shaking version of herself because she missed lunch. That is the same exact deflection playbook. Same artist. Same brushstrokes. Same canvas. And once you start lining up the dates, once you start putting the puzzle pieces side by side, the picture that emerges is downright unsettling. Because go all the way back to the very beginning of October 2024. That is the moment around the 6th or 7th of the month, when the very first whispers about Stefon Diggs and Cardi B started bubbling up in the blog ecosystem. People started spotting them in the same orbit. People started catching them in the same buildings. Sightings started turning into screenshots. Screenshots started turning into articles. Articles started turning into trending topics. And Cardi B, predictably, hopped on live again and tried to laugh the whole thing off, telling everybody that the internet just makes things up, that nothing is real, that she is freshly out of her marriage and people just need to chill. But the camera receipts were there. The witnesses were there. The location data was there. So whether she wanted to admit it or not, the connection had already gone public by the second week of October. And then, by the end of that exact same month, she is being rolled into a hospital under circumstances that nobody on her team will ever tell us about. Now, if your spider sense is not tingling right now, I do not know what to tell you. Because what we are looking at is a romance that ignites in early October, a hospital event that occurs in late October, and a former chef of the man at the center of it all who decides almost a full year later that the very first thing she is going to do when she fires her opening shot at Cardi B is brand the post with that exact October date. That is not a coincidence. That is not a vibe. That is not a girl reaching into her diary at random. That is a pinpoint. That is a flag in the sand. That is somebody who knows the receipts that the public does not have and is daring Cardi to deny them. And the only way that Chef has any of those receipts is if somebody on the inside handed them to her. And that brings us to the part of this story that almost nobody is talking about, because everybody is so caught up in the surface drama, in the parking lot screaming, in the being messy quote that TMZ printed, that they are missing the deeper engine running underneath all of it. Stefon Diggs is a talker. Stefon Diggs is a texter. Stefon Diggs is a man who, based on every single leak that has ever come out from his orbit, cannot keep his mouth shut when he is feeling some type of way about a woman. We have seen the text message screenshots. We have seen the receipts of him spilling intimate details about other relationships to other women. We have seen the way he turns pillow talk into ammunition the moment the relationship cools. And so the working theory, the theory that fits every single piece of evidence on the board, is that Stefon Diggs spent the back end of last year telling that chef things that he had absolutely no business telling. He was lying next to this woman, allegedly comfortable, allegedly relaxed, allegedly in his soft moments, and he was running his mouth about Cardi B. He was telling her about the hospital. He was telling her about the situation. He was telling her about the night that we are not allowed to know about publicly. He was handing this woman an entire arsenal of information without ever realizing that one day, when things got messy, that chef would still be holding all of it. And that is the dynamic we are watching play out right now in real time, in front of our eyes. That chef is sitting on a vault, and every single post she puts up is her tapping the side of that vault to make sure Cardi B can hear it from across the country. Now this is where I have to slow you down and make sure you understand exactly what kind of plot we are watching unfold. Because Stefon Diggs is not just standing around getting caught in the crossfire. Stefon Diggs is the architect. Stefon Diggs is the choreographer. Stefon Diggs is the one moving the pieces. And I will tell you why I believe that with complete confidence. Because right after the parking lot moment, right after Cardi B is filmed flailing her arms and pointing her finger and shaking her head in a way that immediately reads as combustible, TMZ runs a story labeling her as aggressive, animated, out of control. They print the word that they were absolutely given to print. Because TMZ does not just stumble into suburban parking lots in residential neighborhoods. TMZ does not just happen to have a photographer with the perfect angle on a private confrontation between two grown adults having a personal moment. Somebody called them. Somebody made sure they were there. Somebody made sure the camera caught the worst possible version of Cardi B that the public has ever seen. And the only two people in that frame were Cardi and Stefon. Now think about which one of them gains from that footage going viral. Think about which one of them benefits from the public branding her aggressive. Think about which one of them needed the entire internet to suddenly start asking questions about her temperament. The answer writes itself. The answer is sitting right there in the open. And the more you look at it, the more you realize that man is not playing chess with checkers pieces. He is playing chess with the chessboard turned upside down, and he is winning every single exchange because Cardi B keeps walking into his moves. And the reason Cardi B is walking into his moves is because she does not know how to slow down. She does not know how to take a breath. She does not know how to assess the situation and ask herself who is really filming this and why. She reacts. She erupts. She screams. She gestures. She does the very thing that he is trying to provoke her into doing. And he is sitting back there with a soft jawline and a relaxed posture, absorbing every single second of it like a man watching a movie he already wrote the ending for. Because if you go back and watch that footage closely, if you really study his face, if you really study his body language, you will notice something. He is not stunned. He is not embarrassed. He is not even particularly engaged. He is mostly just standing there absorbing the spectacle, almost as if he is letting her dig her own grave on camera. And the moment you see it, you cannot unsee it. Because a man who is genuinely caught off guard in a public meltdown reacts with panic. He reacts with motion. He reacts with damage control. He reacts with a hand reaching for her arm to pull her back from the cameras. But Stefon stood there like a guy on a Sunday afternoon waiting in line for a sandwich. That energy is calculated. That energy is rehearsed. That energy is the energy of a man who knew exactly what footage was about to drop because he set the table for it. And speaking of setting tables, let me bring you back to that chef one more time, because there is one more piece of this puzzle that I do not think anybody has framed correctly yet. When she made that follow-up post, the one where she finally typed Cardi B's name directly, she did not just label Cardi as the target. She framed Cardi as a fellow victim. Read that line again in your head. She said, "You know I did not lie. You know exactly who he really is. He did it to you too. He did it to you too." That phrasing is not random. That phrasing is not throwaway. That phrasing is the most surgical move in the entire chess match, because what it does is plant the seed in Cardi B's brain that she and the chef are actually on the same side of this story and Stefon Diggs is the actual villain. Now think about that. The mistress, the side character, the supposed pillow talk vessel, is reaching out to the main woman and saying, "Sis, you and I both got played." That is psychological warfare at the highest level. And the most fascinating thing about it is that whether you believe her or not, the framing alone forces Cardi B into a position where she has to either confirm or deny what the chef is alluding to. There is no neutral middle ground. There is no graceful exit. Whatever Cardi does next either validates the chef or makes her look like she is hiding something. And that right there is the trap. Now, if you thought that was the entire plot, slow down, because the layers keep going. Because while all of this is unfolding in public, Stefon Diggs is allegedly running a Finsta account. A burner. A troll account. A private little corner of the internet where he gets to vent the unfiltered version of himself without all the corporate restraint that comes with being a professional athlete with sponsorships on the line. And listen, I want to be clear, none of this is officially confirmed. The receipts are circumstantial. The account has not been authenticated by him personally, but the fingerprints all over that account are loud. The patterns are loud. The phrasing is loud. The timing of the posts is loud. And on that account, in the past 48 hours, a flood of posts have gone up that all happen to perfectly align with the exact dynamics of the Cardi B confrontation. One of them said he deletes women who get aggressive with men. Read that. He deletes them. That is the verb. He is not avoiding them. He is not blocking them. He is deleting them. As in erasing them. As in removing them from his life like a corrupted file. And what is fascinating about that post is how perfectly it aligns with the TMZ headline that called Cardi aggressive in the parking lot incident. That is not a coincidence. That is two campaigns running in parallel. And then there is the line that he posted about how he can no longer whisper sweet nothings, that the money speaks volume. Just sit with that for a second. He is essentially admitting, in code, that pillow talk is no longer a luxury he can afford because of the price of doing business with public figures. He is saying out loud that he is closing the door on intimate vulnerability because intimacy has become a financial liability. That is not the post of a man who is heartbroken. That is the post of a man who is calculating his next move. And then he capped it off with the line about how he is searching for solutions, but at what cost? And that pride will always be the starting point for him at the very least. Pride, the starting point. He is announcing his motivation. He is publishing his thesis statement. He is letting the entire internet know that this is not about love anymore. This is not about reconciliation. This is not about a healthy adult conversation between two people who care about each other. This is about ego. This is about hierarchy. This is about the question of who is going to be the boss in this dynamic. And the moment a man tells you that pride is his starting point, you should believe him. Because everything he does from that point forward is going to be in service of that pride, not in service of the relationship. And that is exactly where Cardi B made her fatal miscalculation. Because Cardi B walked into this dynamic the way Cardi B walks into every dynamic, with the same energy that built her empire, the energy that said I am the headline, I am the brand, I am the one calling the shots, sit down or step aside. And listen, that energy works in business. That energy works on stages. That energy works in interviews. That energy works in the courtroom of public opinion. But that energy does not work on a man whose entire identity has been built around being the alpha in his own ecosystem since he was a teenager throwing a football. That energy was never going to coexist with Stefon Diggs. Those two engines were always going to collide. And Cardi B, in her boldness, in her bravado, in her belief that she could simply be Cardi B in any room she walked into, underestimated the type of man she was dealing with. Because Stefon Diggs is the type of man who, the second he feels like a woman is trying to publicly steer him, will not yell, will not retaliate in the moment, will not even break his composure. He will just go quiet. He will just go cold. And then, weeks later, when the woman has long forgotten about the moment that triggered him, his counterattack will arrive in the form of a parking lot ambush, a chef post, a Finsta meltdown, a TMZ headline, and a date stamped on Instagram that nobody on her team was sharp enough to decode. Now, I want to be careful here, because I am not standing here telling you that Cardi B is innocent. I am not standing here telling you that her behavior in that parking lot was justified. I am not standing here telling you that she is some pristine victim of a master manipulator. The reality is that both of these people brought their full, unfiltered selves to this relationship, and both of them have weaponized the public sphere at different points to bend the narrative in their favor. What I am telling you is that in this particular round, in this specific exchange, Stefon Diggs is 2 or 3 moves ahead, and Cardi B is reacting on instinct while he is reacting on plan. And when instinct meets plan, plan wins every single time. That is the law of how these things go. The improviser cannot beat the strategist. The improviser can have a louder moment, can have a more viral clip, can have a punchier soundbite, but in the long arc of the story, in the way it gets remembered, in the way it gets archived, the strategist always ends up on top. And the way Stefon Diggs is reverse engineering this entire moment is something to behold, because look at how he has stacked the dominoes. Domino 1, soft launch on Mother's Day to put the relationship at the center of public attention. Domino 2, allow the chef to drop a vague post the very next day that does not name Cardi, only insinuates her, so that the conversation can simmer without him being directly responsible. Domino 3, allow that chef to come back 24 hours later with Cardi's name embedded in the second post, which guarantees an emotional Cardi B reaction. Domino 4, position himself in a place where he knows Cardi is going to confront him in person, because she is not the kind of woman who responds to drama through email. Domino 5, ensure that TMZ is conveniently in proximity to capture that confrontation. Domino 6, let her go into full animation, full screaming, full pointing, full flailing, so that the resulting footage paints her in the worst possible light. Domino 7, sit back as the public absorbs that footage and starts forming opinions about her temperament. Domino 8, push out his alleged Finsta posts to subtly reinforce the narrative without ever putting his face on it. Domino 9, let the chef tease the October date, so that the threat of deeper revelations hangs over Cardi like a guillotine. And Domino 10, which we have not even seen yet, is whatever Stefon Diggs is planning to drop next. Because make no mistake, this is a man on a mission. This is a man who is not finished. This is a man who is dragging this out by design, drip by drip, because every additional day that the story stays in the news cycle is another day that he stays in control of how the public perceives Cardi B. And the part that almost nobody is connecting is the why. Why would a grown man, a professional athlete with everything to lose, go through all this trouble to publicly unravel a woman he was just photographed kissing on Mother's Day? Why not just walk away? Why not just block her number, change the locks, move on with his life? The answer, my friends, is humiliation. Because Cardi B did something in that parking lot that Stefon Diggs will never forgive, and it has nothing to do with the actual words she said, and it has very little to do with the volume she said them at. It is the fact that she did it in front of cameras. It is the fact that she made him look small in a moment that was meant to be witnessed. It is the fact that for 30 seconds of footage, the public saw him standing there absorbing it, not commanding the room, not running the dynamic, not being the alpha he has spent his entire life curating. And for a man whose identity is built on never being in a one-down position, that footage is unforgivable. That footage cannot be undone. The only thing he can do is rewrite the context of it. The only thing he can do is reframe the woman in it as the unstable, aggressive, irrational party, so that the public retroactively reinterprets his stillness as restraint rather than weakness. And that is exactly what every single post, every single leak, every single TMZ tip, and every single chef breadcrumb has been building toward. The rehabilitation of his image at the direct expense of hers. And it is working. That is the painful part. It is working in real time. Because if you scroll through the comment sections right now, if you scroll through the quote tweets, if you scroll through the reaction videos, you will see the tide turning. People who used to roll their eyes at Stefon are now defending him. People who used to ride for Cardi unconditionally are now starting to whisper that maybe she does have an anger issue. People are starting to compare her parking lot footage to her older clips. People are starting to dig up footage of her flailing at other men, at other moments, in other arguments. The narrative is being repackaged in front of our eyes. And the brilliance of it, the truly diabolical brilliance of it, is that Stefon Diggs never had to say a single word on the record. He never had to do an interview. He never had to release a statement. He never had to defend himself. He just let other people, the chef, the Finsta, the TMZ source, the public, do all of the heavy lifting for him while he sat back and watched the woman who once tried to be the head of the household become the headline of her own undoing. But here is where the warning has to come in. Because every plot, no matter how brilliantly choreographed, eventually meets its own ceiling. Every strategist eventually runs into the thing that they cannot calculate for. And in Stefon Diggs' case, that thing is his own pride. The very engine that is powering this entire campaign is also the thing that is going to crack it. Because a man who tells the world that pride is his starting point is a man who has already named the flaw that is going to undo him. Pride does not pair well with patience. Pride does not pair well with restraint. Pride does not pair well with the long game. Pride wants the public bow. Pride wants the trophy lap. Pride wants the public to acknowledge that he won. And the second Stefon Diggs reaches for that public acknowledgement, the second he steps out from behind the chef and the Finsta and the TMZ tipster and tries to claim credit for the damage he has done, that is the moment his entire mask slips off. Because the rules of public sympathy in this country are very specific. You can ruin somebody as long as you never let the public catch you holding the knife. The second the public catches you holding it, the sympathy you have spent weeks accumulating evaporates overnight. And history is full of men who got too close to the spotlight after a quiet operation and watched their entire campaign collapse in a single news cycle. And I will be honest with you, I think Stefon Diggs is dancing right at the edge of that cliff right now. Because if those Finsta posts truly are his, and the patterns suggest they are, then he is already stepping a little too far into the open. He is already starting to let the audience hear the music he was supposed to be conducting from offstage. And the more he posts, the more he taunts, the more he drops little smirks and little sweet-nothing references and little pride manifestos into the timeline, the more visible his hand becomes. And once his hand is visible, Cardi B finally gets the gift she has been desperately needing this entire saga, which is the evidence that what looked like a meltdown was actually a setup. And once Cardi gets that evidence, the entire narrative can flip again, because Cardi B is, despite her impulses, despite her chaos, despite her parking lot tendencies, an absolute master of the public reversal when she has the receipts in her hand. That is her superpower. That is the thing she has always been able to do better than almost any artist of her generation. Hand her the receipts, and she will turn the entire internet around in 72 hours. So if you are sitting here wondering whether Stefon Diggs is winning this fight, the answer in this exact moment, in this snapshot, in this 72-hour window, is yes. He is winning. He is up several moves. He is controlling the narrative. He is bending TMZ around his fingers. He is using a chef as a proxy. He is letting a Finsta account fight his battles for him. He is keeping his face out of the line of fire, while every single piece of public commentary tilts in his favor. But the longer this campaign drags on, the more pieces he has to move, the more proxies he has to coordinate, the more posts he has to time, the more leaks he has to schedule, the higher the chance that one of those pieces slips out of his hand and lands on his foot. Because empires do not collapse from external attack. Empires collapse from internal overreach. And Stefon Diggs is overreaching by the hour. He is so addicted to the dopamine of watching her squirm that he cannot stop adding fuel to the fire. And at some point, that fire is going to climb up the wall and burn him too. And listen, this is not me rooting for either side. This is not me hoping that one of them loses and one of them wins. This is me, the same way the original story about Drake and his entire stat-padding chess match got broken down piece by piece, breaking down what is actually happening underneath the spectacle of these two people. Because the public loves to watch the show. The public loves to clip the parking lot screams. The public loves to dissect the chef's facial expressions. The public loves to laugh at the TMZ caption. The public loves to debate whether Cardi was hungry or not. But almost nobody is sitting back asking the structural question, which is, who is benefiting from every single beat of this story landing exactly when it lands? Because timing is the tell. Timing is the giveaway. Timing is the receipt that exposes the architect. And when you map out the timing of every single post, every single leak, every single TMZ headline, every single Finsta drop, every single chef appearance, what you discover is that the entire sequence of events is too clean to be organic. Real life is messy. Real life has gaps. Real life has hesitation. This timeline has none of those things. This timeline runs like a well-rehearsed marketing campaign. And when something runs like a campaign, it usually is won. Now I want to take a moment to talk about Cardi B's options, because she is not powerless in this. She has more leverage than the internet is currently giving her credit for. Yes, she walked into the trap. Yes, she gave him the parking lot footage. Yes, she let the chef bait her into a response. Yes, she did the misdirection move with the hungry excuse, which everybody saw through. But she still has cards. She still has receipts of her own. She still has a phone full of screenshots that nobody outside her inner circle has seen. She still has access to her own version of the October timeline. She still has the ability to drop a single Instagram live that detonates everything Stefon Diggs has been quietly building for weeks. The question is whether she has the discipline to wait until the right moment. Because the wrong move at the wrong time will only make her look more reactive. The right move at the right time can wipe his entire campaign off the map. And right now, in this exact moment, what Cardi B needs to do more than anything else is go silent. Go dark. Disappear from the timeline for a week. Let the public stew. Let the chef run out of breadcrumbs. Let the Finsta run out of posts. Let Stefon Diggs run out of moves. And then, when the cycle has rotated past him, drop the receipts with surgical precision. That is how you reverse a setup. That is how you flip a plot. But that requires patience, and patience has never been Cardi B's signature trait. So whether she has the discipline to play that long game is the real question of this entire saga. And the deeper question, the question that almost nobody is asking but that I want to put on the table before we wrap, is what this entire moment says about the way we consume celebrity relationships now. Because look at how easy it was for a chef to weaponize a date. Look at how easy it was for a parking lot to become a courtroom. Look at how easy it was for a Finsta to become a courtroom defense. Look at how easy it was for a public to render a verdict in 72 hours without ever hearing both sides. We are living through an era where the speed of public judgment has outpaced the speed of actual truth. And the people who understand that lag, the people who know how to operate inside that lag, the people who know how to drop just enough breadcrumbs in just the right window of time are the ones running circles around everybody else. And Stefon Diggs, whether you like him or hate him, is operating inside that lag like a surgeon. He understands the rhythms of the internet better than the internet understands itself. He understands that a date stamped on a post is more powerful than a paragraph of explanation. He understands that a chef tilting her head in a video is more persuasive than a 1,000-word statement. He understands that the public would rather watch a parking lot meltdown than read a court transcript. And he is using every single one of those instincts against the woman who once thought she was going to walk into his life and be the boss. So with all of that laid out, with all of that mapped, with all of that pieced together, let me tell you where I think this is going next. And remember, this is the prediction window. This is the part where I lean on patterns. Patterns from past celebrity feuds. Patterns from past athlete relationships. Patterns from past public meltdowns that involved a former staff member, a vague post, a Finsta, a tabloid, and a deeply public woman. And the pattern almost always goes the same way. The man wins the first round on optics. The woman regroups and wins the second round on receipts. The man tries to escalate by overreaching and ends up exposing himself. The woman delivers a final blow that locks the narrative in her favor. And then both of them walk away from the relationship with reputations scarred, but their separate brands intact. That is the most common shape of these stories. And there is almost no reason to believe this one is going to break that mold. So if you are Team Cardi, do not panic. Round 1 is rough, but round 2 is coming. And if you are Team Stefon, do not get too comfortable, because the wave you are riding right now has a ceiling, and you are approaching it faster than your strategists realize. But the most important takeaway, and this is the one I want you to walk away from this video with more than anything else, is the recognition that what you are watching is not a fight. What you are watching is a constructed event. Every beat, every post, every tipster, every parking lot, every hospital, every chef, every Finsta, every date stamp, every misdirection, every hungry excuse. It is all part of a story being shaped in front of you, and you are being invited to take a side without being told who is writing the script. And the moment you start asking who is writing the script, you stop being a passive consumer of the drama, and you start being a real reader of the moment. And that, more than anything, is what separates the people who understand celebrity culture from the people who just react to it. One more thing I want to leave you with before we wrap, because I do not want anybody walking away from this video missing the deeper lesson buried inside the chaos. Every public unraveling between a famous man and a famous woman eventually reveals which one of them was treating the relationship as a chapter and which one of them was treating it as a stage. Stefon Diggs has been treating this whole thing like a stage from the start. Every kiss, every event, every Mother's Day appearance, every soft launch, every photograph leaked at the perfect angle, and now every domino tipping over in perfect sequence. Cardi B was treating it like a chapter, an emotional pivot, a fresh start after a long marriage, a breath of new air, a real attempt at rebuilding her romantic life. And when a stage actor is dating a chapter writer, the chapter writer is always the one who ends up bleeding in public first, because they did not realize they were being filmed the whole time. That is the heartbreak underneath all of this noise. Remember that. So let me know in the comments what you think. Are you on the side that believes Stefon Diggs is masterfully orchestrating this entire situation behind a curtain of plausible deniability? Are you on the side that thinks Cardi B is being unfairly framed as the aggressor while the real strategist hides behind a chef and a Finsta? Are you somewhere in the middle, watching the whole thing with popcorn and no allegiance? Are you connecting the October date the same way I am? Or do you think I am stretching the timeline a little too far? Drop your full breakdown below. Tell me what you noticed that I might have missed. Tell me which of these dominoes you think is the one that is going to be the breaking point. Because we are going to keep tracking this story as it evolves, and trust me when I tell you it is going to evolve fast. The chef is not done. The Finsta is not done. Cardi is not done. Stefon is not done. None of them are done. We are still in the early innings of this thing, and there is so much more left to unpack. So if you made it all the way to the end of this video, you already know what to do. Smash like, hit subscribe, ring the bell, share this with anyone following the story, and stay locked in. Because the second a new piece drops, the second a new date gets stamped, the second a new Finsta post lands, the second a new TMZ headline runs, I'm going to be right back here breaking it down for you piece by piece, the same way we just did right now. Until then, stay sharp, stay observant, stay skeptical of clean timelines. And as always, remember the golden rule of celebrity drama. Pride comes before the fall. And right now, in this exact moment, pride is sitting at the wheel and driving very, very fast. Thanks so much for watching this.